Hello, today I'm going to be doing a review of the FiiO E10K Headphone Amplifier and DAC, also known as the Olympus 2. So this is version 2. Now I did buy this used, so I do not have any accessories to show you. So let's go ahead and get into the review. So let's try to make this short. Now let's talk about the build first. The whole thing is made out of metal. Now I will say that this is kind of light, and also the metal on this does feel a little cheaper compared to their other products like the FiiO A3 or their A5. You do get 4 rubber feet on the bottom, so you don't scratch the surface that you put it on, like for example your desk. And by the way, the size of it is about twice as thick as the Q1 Mark II, but it's still very small. But as you can see, it's actually shorter than the Q1 Mark II. So it's about as long as my finger, and I got pretty short fingers. So also you get these grips on the side, and you also get a gripped volume knob as well. So let's go ahead and move on to the back. So you get a micro USB port. So it probably comes with a micro USB cable to plug into your computer, for example. You also get a gold-plated coaxial output, also known as SPDIF. I did not use this port, so I did no testing on that. And most computers or soundbars or TVs have optical nowadays, so you might not even use that coaxial. I do want to mention that. It would have been better if it had optical. And you also get a high and low gain switch. It's not the worst, but it is kind of cheap. And then you also get a gold-plated line output, 3.5. So if you want to output the DAC to another headphone amp. Then you also get a gold-plated 3.5 headphone jack, so you can plug your headphones into there. And then you also get a bass switch, off and on. And then you also get a blue power LED, and that's also your volume indicator. And I will say that it's very bright, and I do not like it because it's very bright. Let's move on to the volume knob. So it clicks on when you turn it on, and it clicks off as well. Now I will say that the volume knob is very short. I would have liked it if it was longer, but I do like this grip that's around it, and it's very smooth to turn. But since it's so short, it can be a little hard to turn. And another thing to mention is when you have it on your desk, for example, and it's off, if you try to turn it on, it will tip over because you have to hold it down, and it requires a lot of force to turn it on. So that's something I don't really like. Now you do get numbers around the volume knob, so you can use that to see what volume you need. So let's go ahead and talk about power first. For Sennheiser 5.8X Jubilees or the Monoprice M1060Cs, you need about 1.5 to 2 in volume. And remember that power LED is your indicator right here in the middle. And that's on high gain. And then on low gain you need about 3 to 3.5. And then for Fostech T50 RP Mark IIIs, on high gain you need about 3.5. And then on low gain you need about 6 to get them very loud. So this does have enough power for those headphones. So now that we talked about power and build, let's go ahead and get into the sound quality now. And I did most of my comparisons against the FiiO Q1 Mark II single-ended. I did not really test this against this balance because it wouldn't be really fair. So let's go ahead and talk about bass first. Now with the bass boost switch off, the Q1 Mark II does sound like it extends a little deeper, a little lower in the bass department. So you get a little more boom and a little more rumble. And then also the FiiO Q1 Mark II is about equal to this in terms of punchiness in the bass. But I will say that the Q1 Mark II is a little stronger in the bass department versus this. Now with the bass boost on, again, the FiiO Q1 Mark II is going to sound a little more deeper than this, so you get a little more boom and a little more rumble. And I would say they're still both about equal in tightness. So in other words, how punchy the bass is. Now, even though the Q1 Mark II is stronger, with the bass boost off, I like the Q1 Mark II better. But with the bass boost on, they both are about equal. So they're both about the same. So they're both very good bass boosts and they're about the same. The problem is that the Q1 Mark II is a slightly warmer sounding amp. So if you have any headphones that are already warm and have decent bass, like the Sennheiser 6XXs would be a good example, is that those headphones will sound muddy, for example. So if you have any headphones that are warm and already have decent bass, the FiiO Q1 Mark II is going to make them sound muddy. Well, this, with the bass boost on, it's going to sound less muddy sounding. So so I do like the bass boost better on this compared to the Q1 Mark II. But once you put the Q1 Mark II balanced, which is the only thing I actually tested in balanced, is that the Q1 Mark II, it probably is a little stronger, so you get a little more boom and rumble, but it's a little less warm and it's a slightly more tighter sounding, so it's a little closer sounding to what this sounds, because this sounds a little less boomy, so a little less muddy. So overall, they're about equal. So let's go ahead and move on into the vocals. Now the first thing I noticed on this for vocals is when I was testing my Fostex T50 RP Mark IIIs, those headphones kind of have an S problem. So whenever a singer is singing and it goes sss, and it gets really annoying, that annoying S sound, this amp makes that worse compared to the Q1 Mark II. So on this amp, it's not really, I can't really bear the sound well. On the Q1 Mark II, I can still hear the S problem on those headphones, but it's less there. Now other headphones that don't have an S problem, this amp doesn't really introduce an S problem on headphones that don't have that problem. So that's good. So let's go back to the vocals again. Now the Q1 Mark II definitely beats this amp, the E10K, in vocals. And the reason why is because the Q1 Mark II sounds a little smoother, a little more detail, a little bit better clarity, but the most important thing is that the vocals on the Q1 Mark II sound more natural sounding. So overall, the Q1 Mark II has better vocals than this. And it also has a slight less S problem on those Fostex headphones, for example. So let's go ahead and move on to the treble. Now again, the same thing with the treble is it's a little less smooth and a little less detail, but most importantly is that the Q1 Mark II sounds more natural sounding. So when I'm trying to listen to piano or acoustic guitar, the FiiO Q1 Mark II is going to sound more natural sounding. It's going to sound more like what a piano should sound like, or what acoustic guitar should sound like, or what a vocal should sound like. So this tends to color it a little bit more. Now I will say the highs on this sound a little more sparkly compared to the Q1 Mark II, because the Q1 Mark II can sound a little dark, in other words a little recessed in the highs, but the Q1 Mark II still has good detail in the highs and it's more natural sounding. So overall I think the highs sound better than this. And the same thing with the vocals as well. The vocals on this does sound a little slightly more forward than the Q1 Mark II when it's in unbalanced mode. So the vocals on this is a little more forward, but it's less quality. So overall, it's not as good of an amp DAC as the Q1 Mark II. So let's also go into the DAC line output. Now when I line output this to the Massdrop Liquid Carbon X headphone amplifier, the same issues arise. It basically makes that LCX sound like what this amp is capable of. In other words, I think the main limitation of this amp is probably the DAC, because it has a pretty powerful amp. I will say it's more powerful than the Q1 Mark II, but it sounds worse, and it might be because of the DAC. Because again, the vocals don't sound nearly as good, or the treble. So it's also not really a great DAC solution either. And another thing to mention is that the Q1 Mark II is actually portable. Even though this is very small, it doesn't have a built-in battery, so you can't use this portable. While this does have a battery built in, so you can use this portable. And it will even sound even better if you run it balanced as well. and it has a better DAC built in. So overall, I would rather recommend the FiiO Q1 Mark II over the FiiO E10K. And they're both about the same price, by the way. This is about 80 bucks on eBay, and this is about $75, basically everywhere. And if you get it off, both of them off of eBay and use like a site-wide coupon, you can actually get this as low as $64. And I think this is probably one of the best amps and DACs that you can get under $100. So that's basically my conclusion. The only thing I also want to mention is back to the DAC, is also when I put the iFi Black Label Nano on the LCX, I can definitely tell that DAC is definitely better than both of these. Like, the vocals are just a little bit better, but the biggest thing is the instrument separation, and the treble on the iFi Nano when you DAC out it is definitely better than both of these. And that's another thing I want to mention, is just amp-wise, amp DAC-wise, not mention just, but also DAC-wise, is that the FiiO Q1 Mark II does have better instrument separation, just by a little bit compared to the E10K, and also is a little bit better vocal separation as well. So that's another thing I want to mention. So I think I covered everything that I would want to talk about the E10K, also known as the Olympus 2 headphone amplifier and DAC. Now I do want to mention it still sounds good, but the Q1 Mark II is better. So that's all I will say on this. So overall, I'm probably not going to put this in the recommendations. This would be put into the not recommendations pile just because I like the Q1 Mark II better. So thank you for watching.